Welcome to our podcast. Today we have Scott with us, Scott Drake, who was with us for all the Marvel podcasts so far that we have done, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and now we are back to talk about Avengers Doomsday, although it hasn't released yet. But we are going to speculate about it. So spoilers ahead if you do not want any. Although to be very honest with you, I don't know much about. In fact, both of us don't know the actual any details on the actual movie. We're just going to speculate,
We
probably,
we
right?
because I have not seen any previews. I've not seen anything, so I'm going into this with fresh eyes.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share the. The Russo brothers have called out the teasers as stories. Okay. So there have been four teasers that came out with Avatar, the movie that just came out, the Avatar Part 3, right?
Hmm.
So they released four teasers on 4 different weeks. And but the Russo brothers say I don't call it teasers. We don't call it teasers, we call it stories. I don't know what it means. And they say that please observe it very carefully. They are like clues.
Okay.
So so let's see what we have. Before that, I think some of the things that have come out on Avengers Doomsday, which I think you might be aware of, there was a chair watch, and there were like more than 30 people whose name came out on the chair watch. There were chairs, and every name was revealed after I think every few minutes,
Yeah.
and it
I didn't
ran
even
through the
watch that.
day.
I
Oh, you
didn't
didn't
even
watch
watch
that?
it. Yeah.
That's going to be a long one, but just to keep it short, they released Chris Hemsworth's name. They released all the Fantastic Four characters, Thunderbolt characters, X-Men. They had certain specific people like Charles Xavier and
A,
Magneto
a beast.
and yeah, Beast and Nightcrawler
Oh yeah,
and
Nightcrawler too. Yeah.
yeah, and
Oh, and
what's
Mystique.
his name?
Mystique and
Mystique,
Cyclops.
probably. Cyclops, yeah. So they had taken out these names, and then Ant-Man and
And Wasp.
Shang-Chi. So
Yeah.
those were some of the characters
The Ten
that,
Rings guy. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Shang-Chi, the Ten Rings guy. So these were some of the names that they revealed. That was the first teaser long back. And then we had in Thunderbolts post-credit, we saw the spaceship and these new Avengers fighting against the original
New
Avengers.
Avengers. Yeah. Copyrighted
Yes, yeah.
with
So
Bob.
so and then yes, exactly. And wow, and they see the Fantastic Four spaceship um going on this. I mean, landing towards the Earth. I think.
Mhm.
And at that time, there was speculation. We didn't know who's going to be in the spaceship, right? We didn't know it's going to be the Fantastic Four. It's going to be Doctor Doom. Nothing. And then in Fantastic Four, we had the reveal of Victor Von Doom. We didn't see his face, but we saw his back, and he was sitting with Franklin Richards, and we didn't know
Mhm.
what was happening. And Sue Storm just walks towards them, and she stops. Right.
Yeah.
So these are the things that we have seen, and now what you're going to see is what the four stories are. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay.
Um,
And don't forget to share the sound too. So
yeah, I would. Okay. Share sound. Okay, I'm going to start it. You just let me know if you can hear it. Okay.
very nice.
Okay. Yes. So this is the first time you're seeing them, right?
That is the first time I've seen this. I did. No, I actually no. I saw the Steve Rogers one by accident, but I've
Oh,
not seen the other ones. So those were all brand new to
oh,
me.
okay.
All right.
Okay, great, great. So the Steve Rogers surprise wasn't there for you that he's there in the movie, right?
No, but it did trigger something for me because if Steve Rogers is going to be here, then we are
Mhm.
dealing with time elements. So not only are we dealing with multiverse, but we're dealing with time. And because because remember, he went into the past and then he lived his whole
Yeah.
life, passed it off to Falcon, who's now the new Captain America, and then you have a new Falcon as well. So if Steve Rogers is to come back, he will come back either, you know, through a time portal, bringing him back to the present, or this will be a multiverse variant of Steve Rogers, in which that he
Yeah.
did not, give up the mantle, and what could be is that he did not crash into the ice, that maybe he lived his whole life like he would
Yeah.
have in that respect.
I
So,
wanted to very specifically talk about a couple more things or very important
sure.
things related to what has been shown so far. Okay.
Okay.
Now, when Russo Brothers told that these are stories and there are clues in each of these stories, so I've shown you these four teasers called stories. Now,
Mhm.
what are the clues you would pick from these four teasers? The four that you just
So,
saw, and why are they called stories? Why are Russo brothers calling them stories? Is there something more to it? Because you usually refer to them as teasers, right? Are they not
well,
going to be a part of the movie?
no, they are.
Um,
They are. So it's not. So they're calling them stories because I don't think that these are going to be part of the. I don't think these scenes are going to be part of the movie. These are part of the building blocks to build the character of what they are now. So we know what Thor used to be, but what do we know about after Guardians of the Galaxy? Love and Thunder and everything like that. Where is Thor now? Where is his headspace? Where, what does he think? Yeah, he wants to raise his kid here. There's a whole story to him. So when they talk about stories, they're talking about these individual people. Where are they now? What life has built for them? They're giving you some insight. Steve Rogers has hung up his stuff here. He's got a baby. He's made his life. That's a story in itself. Thor, now after this here, he's kind of hung up all this stuff here. He's going to raise this kid here. He's going to try and do good, but now he's going to be called back to action. Okay.
what
Uh,
about X-Men?
X-Men here. X-Men is being affected here. We knew in the Marvels. Remember, Marvels had the not Miss Martin. It wasn't Miss Marvel. It wasn't
No, there
Captain
was
Marvel.
this.
It was the other
No,
one. The light person. The light person
yeah,
broke the barrier and went into there. So that's going to be their bridge there. I think that what it's going to be is that there's going to be a defining moment where he's going to want to erase the multiverse. He's going to want. Remember, Kang. Remember the whole thing about Kang. Kang wanted to get all the variants out. He wanted to destroy all the variants here, one timeline, one thing to rule them all. And he wanted to rule it all. Now we're going to take that idea because Kang's no longer here, and I think that we're going to superimpose that idea onto Doctor Doom. Yeah. So
yeah,
he's gonna. So he wants to fold and implode all the timelines, TVA, destroy everything, all the variants, and then destroy all the heroes here because he's going to be the ultimate badass. So yeah.
yeah. So coming back to X-Men, in the teaser they show that the whole X mansion is destroyed, right?
Yes.
And we see Magneto and Charles Xavier kind of working hand in hand because in fact, Magneto holds his hand. And there is this dialogue which he says that death comes for all of us, but what we are when we are facing death is what is going to matter, right? And then we have
Mhm.
Cyclops opening his, um, glasses and um, sending off these rays. And I mean,
So
so
yeah.
what do you think is the story behind that? What
Okay.
is the
It's it,
yeah
it's the I think that the X-Men are going to die. I think that their world is going to die. But they are
okay
going to the way that they are going to die is fighting Doomsday. And the way that it happens is so if or at least this version of them. Remember, there's multi versions here because at some
yeah
point in comics and stuff like this, Charles dies. Magneto takes over the X-Men and is actually is for the good. He realizes his way and does all this stuff. But we know in the past things, Charles and Magneto have always been friends. They share the same dream, but they come at it from different angles. They want
Yeah.
everybody to live together. One is built off of hatred, and says the only way that we're going to, and this is Magneto here, the only way that we're going to be able to live together is to subjugate the human race, and just and everything else. We're not
Yeah.
going to eliminate them. We're just going to subjugate them, and we're going to be
Correct.
homo superior instead of homo
Yeah.
erectus. So then, but Charles says we can all live together and be on the same level playing field. We can
Right.
just
Right.
So they want the same thing. They come at it from different points of view, but they've always been friends. That regardless, they've been able to put down their differences for the bigger, greater good. There is there was a whole series, X-Men '98 or something like this, the cartoon that ran on Netflix here, whether it's part of the canon or not. But there was a big thing that's that where in one realm the guy who created all the Sentinels came back and was going to destroy all mutants here, and so
Oh.
so people had to step up and different things, and people were doing different things. Obviously, we see that the mantle, you know, the king of Wakanda is that gentleman here that was over the tribe of the
Mbaka, right? Mbaku.
Mbaku. Yes. So,
Ah.
but the mantle of the Black Panther has fallen to Suri,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Shuri. Shuri.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Shuri.
Shuri, not you. The phone. My phone just went off. So anyway, so she's the new Black Panther. Now we all know that from the last Wakanda, Namor was there. Namor is, believe it or not, Namor is the doppelganger of Aquaman in the DC universe. So,
Oh, okay. Okay.
King of Atlantis and everything else. So Namor and Aquaman, are parallel, but just different writers.
Oh,
Yeah. So, but Namor will play a role, and I think that he'll bring the Atlantean army with him as well, and his little tiny wings, which is always the weirdest thing. But okay. Uh, so I
and
think
how
that
come
that
Fantastic Four are meeting them? How do we? What do you think? Why? How is that happening? That the Fantastic Four team is meeting them, or the thing
I
is meeting them?
because I truly believe that he probably eliminated all superheroes in their multiverse except for the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four are supposed to be the most elite. They're supposed to be
Hmm.
like, because what they don't have in raw strength and everything like this, but they do have some raw strength. They make up in intelligence. All of them, you know, even the Thing, has some sort of off the wall intelligence. They think of everything and they can do this. They make this happen,
Oh,
and then their powers are an extension of what they can do and what they can think. But they're always coming up with new things. You know, they say that Reed Richards is the smartest man in the universe. Yeah,
wow. Okay.
I don't know if that's so, because I can think of a whole bunch of other people, but according to Multiverse of Madness, they had the council, and Reed Richards is on the council because he's the smartest guy ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, and they touched on somewhere, and I don't know where they touched it on, but they touched on that the existence of a multiverse. So I think that what they probably did is that they were experimenting, trying to see if there, and trying to see if there is a multiverse. They break through, but at the same time, the breakthrough is because of a need, because Doctor Doom is there. Yeah,
Right.
which also would give Doctor Doom the avenue of exploring the multiverse, because I think that he'll adapt the technology.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, there is one more thing that is being speculated, and I want to touch base upon that part. If you see all the four stories, at least the first one as a child, the second one as a child, right, and the third one, we don't see a child, but there is a speculation that Cyclops and Jean Grey have a daughter, Rachel Summers or something in the
Mhm.
comics. And because we see Cyclops losing it, right? He's taking off his glasses. Is it possible that someone has taken his child? Because and the fourth one, which we already know, Franklin Richards was with Doctor Doom in the end of
Mhm.
Fantastic Four, so
Yep.
that connects to the Fantastic Four. Now coming to the Wakandians, or to Shuri, uh, she says in the teaser that she's lost everyone she loved. I agree that she lost her brother, she lost her mother, but she, in the end of Black Panther 2, found that she has a nephew in that is Black Panther as a son. Now, if you must have seen that, right? In Black Panther
Mhm.
2, in the end
Yep.
post-credit scene, she sees that Black Panther as a son. Now she's
Mhm.
saying that she's lost everyone. Does she also mean she's lost her nephew? If that is the case, then we have four children or five children here. Franklin Richards, Love from Thor: Love and Thunder, Rachel Summers, probably what do you call it?
Mhm.
What was the fourth one I was saying? Sure, Black Panther's son,
Captain America's
right?
son.
And Captain America's son.
Yeah.
Also, there is a speculation that each of these children kind of are like Love was not meant to be, right? Because she was brought back to life um, in the end of Thor: Love and Thunder, right? Because when Gore the Butcher dies, his sacrifice brings the child back, his daughter back, and she's brought up by Thor, right?
Yes. Mhm.
And and if you see Captain America, he's not supposed to be having a child because he went back and he changed the course of his
He went back and
history,
lived.
right?
He went back and lived his life. But you have to also remember
Yeah,
is that um, that child is going to also inherit all the super serum DNA. So I just want to just be aware of that.
exactly. Yeah, it's
But
going to be
but
powerful, but also is yeah. So, is
when you
there? Do you think is there a chance that Doctor Doom is kidnapping these kids? Do you think something like that
no,
could be happening?
I think he's going to kidnap Franklin Richards. He doesn't. There's no need for the other kids there.
Mhm.
The kids. A lot of times when we have resolution here, what do we do after we fight a big thing? We go home. Start a family. We have a life and everything like this.
Right.
L- Showing the kids shows that there is lineage. What are we fighting for? We're fighting for our kids. That's why,
Mhm.
whether it be the one you inherit from somebody else, the one you have gone back in time with and had, the one that you had that's been stolen from you, the nephew that you have to protect, so you keep him in secrecy, and so nobody else would try to steal him or anything else because he would be
Mhm.
the heir to and we don't want him stolen. Um,
Right.
all these things here. It's all about lineage, continuance of existence. Doom threatens the continuance of existence. Thanos never did that. Thanos wanted to take half and you're gone. Yeah, we're gonna keep half. We're gonna
Right.
keep. Doom wants to eliminate everything.
Mm.
There is
Yeah.
there are things where Doom eliminates everybody everywhere and lives by himself for hundreds of years, stuff like that. I mean, there the comics have been written, the lore has been done, depending on what series you go with here. But
Right.
you take you always have to outdo what is before. So, so Thanos was badass. He's like, I got half the people, boom, we're gonna fight because we want those people here. Now we're talking existence and everybody, not just half, everybody. And so everybody's threatened. And you threaten, and if you threaten somebody's kid, then
Yeah.
you're gonna get the strongest people that you've ever seen. And that's what it is. When Scott Summers takes off his visor, that visor holds everything back. He is the son of Havoc. And I don't know if you know who Havoc is.
No.
Havoc is the guy who would just explode. He could be like a nuclear freaking blast. Yeah. And so if you ever look at Havoc, and Havoc had a son, Scott, was never there for him and everything. He felt abandoned, everything like this. But Scott has that unbridled power that exists in him. And this, he's got these ruby lenses or whatever like that, that what it does is that it keeps everything and refracts in a certain way. And then when he touches this thing here, it refocuses it. So the beam, it keeps the beam right here, but he can still see everything. But then all of a sudden he hits this, and the beam all of a sudden it refracts all the crystals, and so he can now shoot it and control it, and he can vary the degree of it. There's a degree, so he can do a little one, or he can just do the big one. He takes that off; it's unfiltered. It's total. I mean, you're talking about a laser that just will go on forever and ever. Just
Good.
light continues. If it's got a if,
He would do that for a specific reason, right? Why would he do it, in your opinion?
because he is about to die, he has to kill something. He's got to do something. Yeah, I mean, he only would rip that off if there was no other option, because he knows how much destruction he can't. He cannot unfilter it. He can, I mean, he can try closing his eyes and everything like this, but it's just so much. But he's looking to grab the most power out of him, and in order to do that, he's got to rip off the goggles. He wants 100%, wants level 10, full, and so that's how you do it. You take off all the filters, and you just hit them with everything you got, um, and it's like nuclear destruction. It's like, um, so that so seeing that's his boss level power. This is that it doesn't get stronger than that. Um, one of the
I
things
think,
is
yeah.
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 So one of the things that is also talked about is that Magneto is very, very, very powerful. He governs his power, you know, um, and so he never really. I mean, he's gone to a certain level, but he's pushed huge asteroids away from the Earth. I mean, like, yeah,
Oh,
that's strong. That type of strong. So, but given his old age, he may not have as much power. You know. Also,
there was
Charles.
something that I don't know if you followed the news recently. So Magneto was being interviewed. I mean, the actor who plays Magneto,
Yeah.
Sir, what is his name? Sir,
Uh,
uh,
not Malcolm.
uh,
Ian McKellen.
Ian McLennan, McKellen.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he was giving an interview recently, and while he was talking to the interviewer, he was saying how things have become easier in movies, with the graphics and everything. And he said, I just recently destroyed New Jersey. Oops, I think I shouldn't have said that. And so this, I'm assuming it's Avengers Doomsday that he did that. So what is there anything in the comic where he does something like that? And why does he destroy New Jersey? Like, what do you think
I
could be the
don't know
reason?
about New Jersey specifically, but if I know that where, okay, where
Hmm.
is Tony Stark from?
New York,
Where
right?
was he born? New York. Okay.
Right.
What if Doom has a place in New Jersey?
Okay. Yeah.
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 And and Doom, you know, uh, let me put it this way. Doom has metal all over his body, yet he's going to out battle Magneto, the master of magnetism. because I think that he's gonna have something. He has something that protects him and everything else. And if you can't crush the suit, crush everything around him. And I think that maybe that's what it is. If that's even going to be something. So in the
Uh,
attempt, he levels a big enough area to ensure that he is down. Could be. I don't think he's going to fight the X-Men. I think he's too old to fight the X-Men. You know, I
mm,
mean, there's a whole thing about Genosha and everything else, and Genosha is supposed to exist, and then other people take over Genosha, and it's just kind of like I've done my time here. I'm just going to live a quiet life. I think that Charles Xavier wants to live a quiet life. You know, I mean, there was talk about that he died, and then he came back, and then there's the with the Infinity Crusaders and different things, and the Shi'ar and everything like that. They brought him back, and then he, you know, there's a bunch of different things and different timelines. But whatever this is here, I think that this is their retirement. You know, I think that
mhm.
something has happened, and that is just a small instance showing the
Yeah.
end of their lives. Once again, lineage. Maybe Scott couldn't deal with the fact that they died because remember, he was devout to Charles. Charles was his dad.
Yeah.
He didn't have a dad. Not Havoc was doing his own thing and was not a good father.
Mm.
Charles has been everything to him. That's why he was the good soldier. He's like always follows the line. Boom, boom. Never crossed him. Yeah, that's just what it is. Um, and maybe, you know, he couldn't take the grief, you know. And once again, Magneto levels New Jersey, and Scott Summers ripped off this, and and I mean,
There is more
there's so
speculation.
there's
Yeah.
so much speculation here that I hope that everything I'm speculating does not come true.
Yeah.
I want it to be something else that I didn't even think of, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know,
Exactly.
it's
There's going to be
amazing,
this.
it's amazing
Yeah.
because I'm going to
There's
be
going
on
to
the
be
edge
this
of my seat.
last. There is going to be this last theory that I wanted to discuss with. It's a very flawed theory, and I was the one who thought of it. But of course, I've been inspired by many things that I watch around me.
Mhm.
First, I want you to listen to it and then give me your thoughts around it, if it's even remotely possible, right?
Okay.
So the theory goes like this, So, and the theory comes from the fact that Russo Brothers have also mentioned that Doomsday is a direct sequel to Endgame. It's a direct sequel. Anything and everything that happened after Endgame may be of lesser consequence, but this one is a direct sequel to Endgame. So there is
Okay.
some strong, and they are releasing Endgame again in September. And there is once again a lot of theory that the end post-credit scene where you see, where you just hear Iron Man hitting his armor, in the first part one, the way he, forms his armor, you
Hmm.
hear the hammer sound, tung, tung. That's all you hear in Endgame, right? Now, there is this theory that you may hear the same sound, but you may see Doom preparing his armor. And maybe that was what they were showing in Endgame and not Iron Man, right? So I don't know if that's going to happen. But my theory is, what if Steve Rogers, who went back to return all the stones to each and every place that he took them from, what happens when he goes to return the soul stone? The theory is, when you give soul stone, or rather, we have never seen what happens when you give soul stone. We have only seen what happens when you take a soul stone. When you take a soul
Hmm.
stone, you have to return,
The
you have to
soul.
give a soul for a soul, right? You
Hmm.
have to sacrifice a soul. So there are two people who have been sacrificed so far. One is Thanos' own daughter, uh,
Gamora.
and Gamora, and one is our favorite,
Black.
um,
Uh. Uh.
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlet.
What's the name?
Not Scarlet Witch. Um. Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson.
Black Widow. Yeah, yeah. So these are the two people who have been sacrificed so far. But this has happened when someone went to take the Soul Stone. Now, when Steve Rogers tries to return the Soul Stone, would he get a soul in exchange? Would he be told that now you're returning it and you get a soul in exchange? If that's number one, that's if that is that a possibility? And if that is a possibility, is it possible that Steve Rogers would have chosen to bring back the soul of Tony Stark, his friend, who sacrificed himself for the larger good? But now Tony Stark's soul is back, and the soul will get a new life, right? It will be reborn. What if that soul is reborn as Doctor Doom? And
Mm-hmm.
that is the connection between Tony Stark and Doctor Doom in this particular movie. And what if Steve Rogers has actually created the Doom that everyone is fighting, and he knows that he's the one who, if he had not chosen to resurrect the soul of Tony Stark, and if that Tony Stark wasn't born in another universe as Doctor Doom, and you know, that a lot of people say the difference between Tony Stark and Doctor Doom is that Tony Stark had people who stopped him from going berserk, right? Like he was doing things in Age of Ultron, which was very similar to what probably Doctor Doom is doing. Doctor Doom doesn't have a bad intention, right? He's trying to protect the world. Maybe he's a little self-absorbed, but he's trying to have the shield that Tony Stark has always been talking about. Yeah, I want a shield that covers us from everything. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when the Ultron is born because of him. So what if the same soul ends up doing things that Tony Stark might have done but did not do, and just takes it ahead, and then of course he's born in a certain. So is that number one? Is that a possibility? Is what the theory I
It's
was
always
wanting to discuss.
anything's a possibility, and that does bring up something. Is that yes? What if he did return the Soul Stone and brought Tony back to life and everything like this? Two things could be. First of all, Tony comes back with a knowledge that his own mortality, that he wasn't strong enough, and so he needs to get stronger, you know, and that he does not want this to ever happen again. You can send him down a dark road and he can spiral down and everything else and become ultimate. It's like, listen, I'm going to protect your life by killing everybody. I mean, it's weird that what people can come up with, you know. Um, Another thing I was thinking of was I talked about that the Scarlet Witch was talked about coming back here. It could
Yeah.
be that they give the Soul Stone in order to bring Wanda Maximoff back because she is really, really strong and they may need her, or she can come back through something else. But I was so
The theory
another.
is that.
I was gonna say, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. No, the theory is that Doctor Doom probably brings her back because he may want her in his team, and she may be in his team.
Sure.
That was another point I wanted to discuss, but maybe later. Who is going to be Doctor Doom team? I think there is going to be a team Doctor Doom, right? Because I don't think he's going to do all of it by himself. So there are going to be some people who are going to be with him in this fight
He
between the
does.
superheroes.
He has an occult following. Yeah. He is actually the king of a country. So this is another thing. It's like I think it's Latvia or something like that.
Yeah.
And so with that though, because there's a whole thing about his parents died. Maybe Howard Stark had the lineage to this country. He's now the next one to inherit the heir. The country has these rich, mystic minerals and everything like this. This is how he builds his stuff, blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
everything else. Super smart. So they could play that whole lineage back into there if he's actually going to be the king of Latvia and everything else. And do that, but you have to tie it to Stark. Another thing is that this could be another variation. This may not be 616, which is everything that we know. that's the world. That's our reality here in 616. Everything else, Fantastic Four was like 818 or something like that. You know. So
Yeah, eight
uh,
two one eight eight
yeah.
two eight. Yeah,
So it's entirely possible that yes, Steve Rogers could bring him back instead of going back to everything else. You know, he goes to Latvia and starts doing all this stuff here and blah 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 blah. Steve Rogers goes back in time, lives his life. You know, here it is. You know, he might have,
yeah,
and so he probably would have returned the Soul Stone present day, not back in time. But there's also a thing about returning the Soul Stones or returning all the stones to its original location. Where was the original location of the second set of Soul Stones?
mm.
Yeah. So
We
and
don't know
I, and I
which universe that was, right? Because did they take it from in Avengers Endgame? There were no different universes they go to, right? It's
the first one, the first one was Gamora. You know, and
yeah,
then yeah, the second one was Black Widow. They had to do that, but I were they back in time? Were they at the same point? Was it like present day that they lost her? Remember, they all went back in time. I think some of them went back in time.
yeah. They went back in time. I know that they went to 2008 because they had this. They were all there in the 2008 timeline, right?
Hmm.
All the Avengers went back to 2008, or were they? No, there were only four of them who went back to 2008, I think. Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, and Scott Ant-Man, right? Only these four went back to. Um, it's interesting because there's one more thing that's come out, which is people really go deep. So these stories or these teasers that they came up with, right? Every teaser ends with this clock, Doomsday clock, right? And when it rolls to show the date, 18th December,
Hmm.
it gets stuck at this one point for a microsecond, and people have actually taken snapshots of those that particular code,
Hmm.
and someone said the code is probably timestamp from Avengers Endgame. So there are four different codes, and people tied them to the Avengers Endgame scenes, like exact
Hmm.
time. And all those four scenes that come up with, one of them is when who is Doctor Strange's mentor, the one who gives time.
Oh
Uh,
yes, the bald lady.
yeah, I mean,
Uh,
you got who I meant, right?
yeah. Let's see here.
I think we are.
Doctor Strange. Enter. Um, the ancient one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it goes back to that scene where she explains to Hulk
Hmm.
that, if you take the stone and there is this new timeline that's created and we are not protected, the, and that's when Hulk explains to her, what if I come back and put the stone back from where I left, right?
Yeah.
So
Because you don't want to
it
have a
points to
paradox.
that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it points to that scene. And now a question to you as well, right? When you go back in time, and this is how Avengers Endgame explained things to us.
Hmm.
When you go back, so now if I go back to my past, I
Hmm.
change something, and I go back to return it again, right? I come back and then I go back to return it. That must be a new timeline that's already created, right? I'm not going back to the same timeline, I believe.
Well, the first thing is this: people think of time as linear. Time is not linear. Time is first of all, time is a human constant, and the
Mhm.
reason why this is proven to be a human thing is because time changes the closer you get to speed of light. So
Yeah.
Let me put it this way: if I go 200 million miles out that way in an instant and speed of light and come back, okay, it's going to be a couple hours for me. It might be 40 years for you before you see me.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because
Yeah.
so time is not linear. Time is circular. So it's kind of doing something like this here, and then it goes here, and then it goes here.
Hmm.
There's a whole thing behind it. So so the idea of multiverse is all considered to be a paradox. Everything you do, if you go left, there's another timeline that gets formed because you went right, and everything like
Hmm.
that. So, but you have to understand is that you have to think of you're not the same person. Each instance in the line
Hmm.
is a new
Right.
version of yourself. Okay. So if this person goes back to here, okay, and then comes back, this person's not really affected. This person's still going to do whatever. Whatever changes will influence this person, okay, because it's changed. But this is now a new person. And so yes, there's multi timelines or paradoxical realities.
Okay. So now in this case, when Steve Rogers is going to return Stone to every different location that he took it from, is he creating a new branch every time he's doing that?
He's entering a new branch. What he's trying to do is that he's inserting himself into a timeline, but him just pulling himself out of where he's at creates a new branch altogether. As soon as he leaves that spot, it's a whole new branch because he's now got to travel something different than his normal progression would have been.
Okay.
I wish I had a whiteboard I could show it to you, but
Wow.
imagine this here. Imagine you have an apple. Okay,
Right. Okay.
okay. You go back in time
Hmm.
and you plant the seed from the apple. Okay, then you go back to the beginning here. And then you go back to where you went. There's now a tree. There's now a tree. It breeds fruit and everything like that. And now that tree exists in this timeline. But there's a timeline where that tree didn't exist because you created it. As soon as you left, you created something. Now you're trying to fix something. Let's say you go back to that time. Now you pick up that seed, okay, and you go back to the beginning here. Now you have a third one. You have a third one where it never existed at all. You have one that where the tree was planted and grew fruit, and then you have one where the tree never existed afterward because you went and picked it up, but it still existed back there for a minuscule time. So there's all these fragments, that start these little. So there's bigger. So if you saw in the TVA, and then they gave the representation of the splinters and everything like that,
Yeah. Right.
all the splinters are not exactly the same size. Minor splintering, major splintering. They talked about there are critical things, there are critical multiverses here as opposed to non-critical multiverses because there's like little changes. I mean, a little change could be, in one multiverse, Steve Rogers has a mustache, and that's the only thing that's changed because
Right.
yeah, yeah, but everything else is the exact same. So it's like minimal changes. But so when they talk about variance in the TVA, they talk about what is the impact, what was the greatest impact from the original timeline, determines how big that splinter is going to be. So he's
Hmm.
trying to, so he's already knows that he's going to splinter the timeline. He's trying to bring it back to the exact point. If he can get it down to even down to the second, it's going to be so minimal. It's going to be so minimal, that maybe the TVA wouldn't see it or notice, or it won't be on the radar. But if you go back, you know, and you kill Howard Stark before, you know, before Tony Stark can ever do that, there will still be a timeline where Tony Stark is still alive. You're not killing that timeline. You're changing the timeline and splintering, and you're splintering.
Yeah.
So what the TVA's whole thing was to go back in time and eliminate the splintering, take out those variants, and try to eliminate those little splinters. So,
Right.
So anyway, so there is going to be a variation. Now there's another and I was just thinking that there could have been another theory. What if Tony Stark in another universe got caught in the snap? He comes back 5 years later, and all of a sudden he's like totally aware of what's going on here, and he's like, "What is going on here?" Remember, the snap took half of everything everywhere all at once.
Right.
And then put it back.
Yeah.
So it might, so does it reach into the multiverse? Yeah, it could have. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the snap was ever explained, where the Fantastic Four was, and so forth. But there's so much here that needs to that they're going to have to explain, that they're going to have to commit to, and say, because we have all this speculation here, and it's going to be like, no, this is what we're talking about here, and we're going to commit to this hypothesis, and we're going to run down this road here. Right now, we're off-roading, and we're just doing this, Hey, could it be this? Hey, and we're grasping at straws here. They're going to reveal to us what the actual path is.
That's true.
Yeah, and so, but I try not to think too much of this. I try to think of everything, but I try not to go down the rabbit hole, because what we love about movies is the amazement, the surprise, the twist, the turns,
Right.
the I didn't even think of that. I mean, have you ever been in a movie? I mean, and I'm sure that because you've seen tons of movies and you're a director and everything else, is that, the biggest disappointment is when you can actually predict it. And you're like, I already know how it's going to be. And then you're just sitting there. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm enjoying the movie. But I mean, and it's captured on YouTube and everything like that. When Steve Rogers picks up the hammer in Endgame,
Right.
I was one of those people that was like, I just freaked out. And there's no bigger experience than you're freaking out at something like so wonderful.
Do you expect someone else to pick up the hammer in this movie? And who do you think could?
If I were to say another person to pick it, well, besides Thor, of course, if I was to think of another thing, maybe it's Franklin. Maybe it's I mean, there's talk about Dr. Doom could pick it up because his will is so strong that he imposes his will on the hammer and basically bends the hammer's will to his needs.
Yep. True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So there's lots of different things here.
It's gonna be crazy. Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
A lot of speculations and finally before we kind of wrap this up, now, amongst the superheroes, when I say superheroes, all of these people, Thor and everyone, do you think there are going to be people who are going to be supporting Doom in his mission? Maybe he comes out and tells that his mission is not to destroy everything. His mission is to have one universe, and not because everything is crumbling and he wants a solution for that, right? And then he becomes God Doom, God Emperor Doom, and owns the battlefield. But that is something which is there in his head, which is not spelled out, right? So I don't know, like, do you think there are going to be superheroes? The superheroes that we, amongst the Thunderbolts, the Fantastic Four, do you think any of these people are going to support him?
I think that there could be, yes.
Who do you think would be?
But you also have to think about other things here. It's not just, hey, it's the Thunderbolts, or hey, it's this. It's what if it's this Thunderbolts versus this Thunderbolts?
Yeah. I mean, it could be a part of the team also. So,
they've already broken through that they could bring. There was some discussion. It could be just hinting around that Edward Norton's Hulk could be coming back. So what if that Hulk follows Doctor Doom, and then
yeah.
you got our Hulk here, who is now melded, with the two halves of his brain here, supposedly is not as strong with this other, really strong Hulk
Yeah.
going head to head. What
So if I have to talk person by person amongst the people we know already, let's start with. Do you think Magneto could be a part of Team Doom? Because both of them
no,
could be. No, there
no,
is no way.
because Magneto's kind of a narcissist, and so is Doom. I think that their personalities would
Okay.
clash. You know, you
Oh,
have to you would have to think that who would benefit from supporting
Scarlet
Doom.
Witch could be Scarlet Witch
The,
because she loves her children, and maybe he is promising that she'll get her children back. Something
Mhm.
like that. He could. Scarlet Witch could be his team, right?
One child already came back.
Yeah, one
Remember,
child in Agatha all
and
along.
yeah, and Harkness, yeah, just and also he's on a mission to bring the other child back. He thinks that the soul of the other child is out there, and he's going to try and do that.
Yeah.
So what if there's a whole thing in which that Doom's like, I can bring back your mom, I can bring back your
I
brother.
mean, uh, let us pause 1 second for in this now. You've seen Agatha all along, right? The series, the mini series that came. It was called Agatha all along, was it?
Was it?
Um, Agatha all along.
Yeah,
The
it was Agatha all along, or something like that.
Yeah, Agatha all
Yeah,
along. So in that,
about the
in
Witch's
fact,
Road and
in,
everything else. Yeah,
in that, Billy, right? Billy is the son
Billy's the son.
who gets reincarnated. His soul travels to another body which just died, right?
Yeah, it died in the car, and then all of a sudden Billy entered that body. Yes.
Okay. Now I am thinking that they could connect this theory. So theory is a soul enters a dead body right at the time the closest dead body that it finds, it enters that and it becomes a part of that.
Yeah. Remember,
Now,
Agatha is tied to Billy too. Remember,
yeah,
her soul is tied to him in some way. So he's like, I'm always going to be here. I'm
yeah.
following you around.
Now, using this theory, when Iron Man died,
Could
what
he be
if
reincarnated in another boy that could have been Victor Von Doom?
Doom's soul uh, took control of his body, the way Billy took control of that boy's body? What is that boy's name?
Yeah,
Um,
whoever is, yeah,
Wiccan, right?
yeah. So, so based on what you're saying here is at the time that Tony dies here, he could have entered a boy. Yeah, the boy maybe it is Victor Von Doom, you know, and
Yeah,
that's Tony's soul, and Tony's like, I'm gonna do it differently this time here, and everything, and starts just going deep and everything with this, and
yeah.
maybe it is Tony Stark reincarnated,
Or
but
maybe the way we
darker.
discussed, maybe the way we discussed Steve Rogers when he's returning the soul stone, the soul that he frees is Tony Stark's soul, and that soul ends up going into the body of Victor Von Doom, who could, I don't know if he has ever died in any of the universe. Maybe his universe collapsed or something happened and he died, but he was resurrected by the soul. Is it possible that, or it could be any
I mean,
boy, right?
the soul could come back, but if the soul doesn't have anything to tether itself to, like a human vessel or
Yeah,
something like that.
it could be the body of Victor Von Doom in some other or in the place that he
Yeah,
was. I don't know.
it could be
It
that
could be.
it could have been that Steve Rogers returns the Soul Stone, doesn't even realize that he's resurrecting Tony because when you exchange the Soul Stone, it's the person you're thinking of, and he was thinking about Tony, and then all of a sudden Tony's soul comes back and goes into something else
Now,
and could
an
start to change it.
absolutely crazy theory which is impossible, and I was trying to think of if there is any way this could be right, but I couldn't think of any way it could be right. But I just wanted to throw it out. Is it by any chance possible that Steve Rogers' child, the child that is shown in the teaser, is actually Victor Von Doom? Is it by any stretch of imagination possible?
It could be, but then you have to understand is that Steve Rogers and I forget her name. Yeah, Peggy
Peggy
Carter.
Carter.
Yeah, remember they're very very loving parents, and
Exactly.
yeah, and so and they don't have a whole lot of money. That it's a small house and everything else. Where where would all this come from? You know, yeah. Now what could have happened is that if that did happen, and this maybe the soul went into Steve Rogers' kid, Peggy dies for some reason, but she's supposed to live like till a ripe old age because Steve Rogers sees it. So I don't know. It'd
Yeah,
be
there
very
are
very
many holes in this
it'd
theory.
be very
Many
very
holes
hard.
in this theory.
But
Yeah.
I do like the idea of the returning of the Soul Stone though, and then somehow that becomes Victor Von Doom. He's not going to be Tony Stark. They can't call
Yeah.
him Tony Stark. Everybody be upset. It's got to be Victor Von
Yeah.
Doom. But how
Right.
does he become Victor Von Doom? And the way could be returning the Soul Stone and then having his entity go into a boy that just died. Maybe it was this kid of the Von Dooms.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
And so now think about this. How smart would he be because he retains all of his knowledge? It's not like a baby boy. It's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
a little kid here, but I got all Stark's knowledge now.
Yeah.
And then he
Exactly.
evolves even more. So now he's got everything at his disposal. At, let's say the kid's 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, whatever it is, but he's got
Mhm.
full Tony Stark intellect. And now over the next course of 20 years, 20, 30 years, he is advancing that, you know. But if this is to work, then Victor Von Doom, the soul, he would have to go back in time to a point of 30 something years ago, return the Soul Stone at that point because of the age of which Victor Von Doom is going to be when everybody comes together, you know,
Right. Right. Right.
unless
Yep.
he has willed himself, unless he has such strong will that he is actually fighting the aging process, and so he's actually really, really a much older. There's a whole bunch of things to it. But it's
Yeah.
crazy to think. It's like, what are they gonna what are they gonna do? What are they gonna set their minds to? It's gonna be crazy.
Right. True.
But
True.
anyway,
Yeah. I
uh,
think we can carry on for 5 hours, but we have to stop sometime.
yeah, I gotta go
Yeah.
get some dinner too. So
Yeah, I know, I know. So, I mean, it was wonderful talking to you. I really wanted to discuss all these possibilities, and now we are going to
so much.
stop thinking about it for the next 1 year, and then watch the
Good
movie,
plan.
hopefully together. I hope we watch it together. I
I
want to
hope
see you shouting like you did when you saw the hammer being held by Steve
yeah. I
Rogers.
will.
I'm also going
Yeah,
to be shouting. Yeah,
I know.
but
So we need to do that. We definitely need to do that. Yeah,
yeah,
maybe we can, and maybe what we can do is we can go to the rescreen of the other ones.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that would be wonderful.
I still get goosebumps every time, every time. It's just
Wow,
so awesome.
that's it. I'm sure that it is going to be crazy.
It's really crazy.
Okay, well, Scott, wonderful talking to you. I know this has been a long podcast and hope our viewers stuck till the end, but nevertheless, leave your comments. Let us know what you think. What are the plot points that you could think of, and maybe that's something that and maybe try to fill the plot holes that our theories are. Right. So yeah. So once again, thanks a lot, Scott, for this for
Thank you
you
for having
for
me.
being a part of this. Yeah. And let's meet soon for other podcasts. We still have to do the shrinking podcast. By the way, we just started watching The String Next Door. Don't spoil it for us, but I have a feeling that since they've already shown in the beginning what happens, it's not going to end well. So
That's I can tell you that is a point in time, but not the end point. Okay. And I found out that I think that this is based on a true story.
real story, yeah.
Yeah. So,
But I mean, I love Ant-Man and what's his name? Who plays Ant-Man?
Paul
Paul
Rudd.
Rudd. Paul Rudd.
You're Paul.
But I'm hating him in this.
You will hate him. You will hate him so much. You will hate him.
I don't know. I don't like hating him, but I am.
I know, but you will hate him. But just once you watch the whole
Every
thing,
time when Will Ferrell's character is giving into him, I'm like, no, don't do that. Listen to your sister. Why are
I
you
know.
doing
I
this?
was like, what?
Because
No.
I can already see the doom,
Yeah.
following our theory. I can already see his doom, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I just hope they change something in the end from where it began, because
Um,
it's going to be depressing if it's going to
what you
continue.
saw, as I said, what you saw there is not the end of it. It's not the end of the series. I can
Okay.
tell you that. There
Okay.
is something more, a lot more after that. But
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
But I'm not going to say anything. Also, Shrinking though started a new season, so maybe
Yeah,
after
we
we watch
just started.
so maybe after this season's done, we can do Shrinking, and we'll just roll it all
That
up.
may be very late because it's going to go till June. We could do it in June though.
Okay.
Although one thing that we are planning to do is we're planning to do a rewatch of Shrinking 1 and 2, so that we are better prepared for some kind of discussion that we're going to have. So let's see, maybe we do it in June.
Oh,
It's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just also finished the series. It's only been one season, but The Agency has Richard Gere, Michael Fassbender. Very
Oh,
intense
wow.
CIA stuff. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
I'm
was
going to watch that.
crazy. Yeah. I think it's like 10 episodes or something like that. But you're just on this roller coaster. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff.
Okay. Next watch then.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
See you
Perfect,
later.
Scott. Thank you. Thank you again. Bye.
This is always fun. Thanks. Bye.
It is. It is.